there and welcome back to another one of my exciting, mesmerising, thrilling videos. It's what you always come back for, isn't it? So today we're going to be looking at the Sony CCD-TR411E, a Video8 XR Handycam which was launched to market in 1998. And you'll be pleased to know I have my notes. So what was going on in 1998? Well, I did a little bit of sleuthing before coming on to make this video. I'd not long left secondary school in 1998. I mean, depending on when the camera came out. And I was bored out of my head as I had to go to college and study IT. And maybe I should have stuck with IT considering the big tech revolution that followed. Nah, wouldn't have happened. The big films of 1998 included The Truman Show, great movie, Saving Private Ryan, haven't seen that film, still haven't seen that film, The Big Lebowski, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and Something About Mary. Did you see any of those movies? And then what about the music of 1998? Let's get that feel of the time. We had Chocolate Salty Balls by Chef. Do you remember that song?
They're big and salty and brown.
Truly Madly Deeply by Savage Garden. Brimful of Asher by Corner Shop. Brimful of Asher. Millennium by Robbie Williams. And Horny by Moose T versus Hot and Juicy. I'm horny, horny. No, I'm going to stop doing that. Okay, well, without further ado, I'm just going to tell you about where I got the camera from. As per usual, I was mooching around in Lowestoft's charity shops. Don't come to Lowestoft, it's my hunting ground. And I came across this camera. I think I've got the receipt in here actually. Got it on the 5th of February, so a few weeks ago now. And I paid £15 for it. But as you can see here, they wanted £50 for it. And the reason they actually kindly knocked it down is that the camera, well, this was in the bag, and it said Sony 8 XR camera recorder, I think that's what it is, with tapes. So I opened up the bag in the shop, and there was lots of tape cassette boxes in there, but there were no tapes in there. So I was like, oh, you know, could you do me an offer? And then we had a chat, and they did it for me very kindly for £15. So what did I get in the bag? Well, we have the camera itself, which we'll take a closer look at in a moment. I got, I was very lucky to get the AV lead with it and the little SCART adapter, which was cool. Very cool as well that I got the instructions, so that's always handy. Got the strap to go over your shoulder, and I got the charger, and obviously I got the bag as well. We'll just leave that there for a moment. So just before we have a look at the camera, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit more about this camera. As I said, it was launched to market in 1998, and it was part of a range of cameras, placing itself as the cheaper option in that range. And by cheaper, I mean that it just lacks certain features that can be found on those other cameras. The features that this camera lacks is an S-video out jack, the fader button, a dedicated focus switch, the focus dial, and night shot functionality. So as I say, it's kind of placing itself at kind of like the lower end of those camera ranges. I'll pop some camera information on the screen for you now to help anyone who might be kind of looking for that detail. So I'll pop that on the screen right now. Oh, and if you're interested, I did find a website that actually helped you to understand the serial number. So obviously this is the CCD-TR411E. Well, CCD indicates an analog Video 8 or Hi 8 camcorder. The TR part apparently tells the manufacturer that it's a camera in palm unit with no fold-out screen, because obviously this camera has no fold-out screen. And then obviously the E on the end can often indicate a PAL unit. So that was quite cool, deciphering what it all meant. Anyway, if you didn't like that, then sorry. As mentioned, this camera's format for recording is Video8 XR. But you might be wondering, just like me, what does the XR mean? What does it mean? Well, to keep it simple, XR stands for Extended Resolution, which Sony promised would give the consumer better picture quality. In this case, my Video8 XR gives me 40 more horizontal lines to help with better detail compared to 240 lines on other camcorders. Here's a screen grab of a video demonstrating this, and I'll link the whole video in the description. Now, this is just my opinion, but arguably the XR branding was probably a gimmick allowing Sony to sell more of its Video8 camcorders, especially when you consider that the High 8 format, also from Sony, was fast becoming the more popular format of its time. You know, whether or not, you know, consumers could really see that it was giving them better quality is arguable, I suppose. Only a real field test would find that out. But I can't do that, so somebody else can do it. So anyway, without further ado, let's have a closer look at the camera. It's actually quite simple in some ways and not as complicated as you might think. So we're going to do that now. And then you, yes, you, will be treated to a small video which I shot for you, all of you, yesterday for your viewing pleasure. I took a little trip over to Beccles in Suffolk, and I took the camera with me, documented it, and yeah, it was a nice little trip, so I hope you enjoy that. If there's anything that I haven't covered or you'd like to know more about, then please reach out in the comments. And yeah, take care, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers. Okay, so let's take a closer look at the Sony CCD-TR411E. I think they're lovely, these older cameras. They were really well made, really thought about cameras, and the functionality was fantastic. Anyway, let's go to the front of the camera. I'm just going to do that. Let's power the camera up just so you can see the lens. And it's a Sony video lens, optical 16x zoom. And if you want to know any of that further information about the lens, it is there for you to see. Now, interestingly, this little kind of orangey yellow sticker says 0.2 lux, visible minimum low light. And this is because this camera doesn't have night shot or night camera functionality. So it enables you to record in low light, but it doesn't allow you to capture, you know, stuff when you're in very dark conditions. So no infrared built into this camera, other than for, I suppose, for the remote. But yeah. And on the front here, we have got our microphone. So coming around to the side of the camera. So on the top here, we just have the little switch that powers the camera, or if we pull it down, it takes us into player mode. So very straightforward. Turn your camera on, turn your camera off, or put it into player mode. Now, this little area on the camera here, right here, this is where a lot of the features I spoke about earlier were taken out. So at the top here, this would have been where the fader switch or button would have been, sorry. Here would have been the little wheel, or the little cog wheel as I like to call it, which would enable you to focus. And here would have been your focus switch. And obviously that's all been taken out on this model. And then just whilst we're here, if we can just see here, I'll just try and get it in the light. You should just be able to see this little patch here. And that would have been where the night shot switch would have been. So you can see how they've kind of taken it all out. So on the front of the camera, it just tells us the digital zoom, 32 times digital zoom, but hate digital zoom. Video8 XR. Then we have a counter reset button. That's self-explanatory. We have our small display here. It shows me my battery needs to be charged soon. Got the model number right there. Then we have the option for backlight, so just backlight compensation, date button, time button, and then your title button. So if you've made any pre-made titles or you want to select a title, you would just touch that and you'd be able to select it. Now, we've talked about this before when I reviewed a camera before, where you've got your anti-ground shooting, and I never used to use this, but you have three options here. The first option is your standard option, where you just press your record button and you're off, and then you have to press it again to stop it. The second one, you have to hold the record button down for the entirety of the time that you want to record. You can't release it, otherwise it will stop. And then the last one is your 5-second clip. So you press it, it will record for 5 seconds, and then it will turn itself off. Okay, so on we go. Now here we have a nice little wheel here, and as you can see here, this will put us into different program AE modes, and that's an automatic exposure. So we've got your standard ones. We have like portrait, people together, sports, sunny conditions with the palm tree, nighttime mode with the planets, and then landscape mode. All very self-explanatory. Then if you want to have your picture effects, as you saw demonstrated at the demo at the beginning, you just touch that and you use the little cogwheel on the back here to select through them. And then here we have your menu button. Now, frustratingly, I can't show you the menus because there's no way of getting the output of the camera onto my recording equipment. I've tried various different ways, but there's no way of doing it. So that's why I've decided not to talk about it in too much detail in this video. But if you want to select the menus, you hit that menu button, and then you'd have to look through the viewfinder to select it. It's really tricky. Like when you realise you don't have a fold-out LCD screen, things can become quite tricky. Everything is through the viewfinder. And whilst we're on the viewfinder, this lifts up, which is quite cool. Nice, retractable, not retractable. Is it extendable or retractable? I don't think it's either. It lifts up. My vocabulary is failing me today. And as we said here, you have the little cogwheel which allows you to select things and push to execute as you would expect on these kind of old kind of cameras. Have our battery pack in the back. Amazingly, this is still working. I don't know if it was a replacement, but the charge on it's amazing. So I'm guessing that it is a replacement. Where you plug your DC in on the bottom there. Quite old school, but still cool. And then we just have the little switch here on the back, which you can put it into lock mode. So if you're walking around and you don't want to keep turning the camera off at the front here, you can just pop it into lock mode. And it kind of basically puts the camera into a kind of standby mode. And now we're rocking and rolling again. Okay, let's have a little look at the top of the camera. So this is where you would be able to review your tape footage. So once you put it into play mode, you could stop, rewind, play, fast forward and pause your footage by looking through the viewfinder. And then you've also got your edit search buttons on the top. We've got our zoom switch on the top, wide and telescopic. We've got our battery release here to pop it off. And then we come around here, and last but not least we have our eject button. Let's do a little eject. We like an eject. Isn't that satisfying? Pop that back in. Very impressive really when you consider this camera's 26 years old. Still working and functioning lovely. And then we have the LANC switch, or the LANC port. It was a way of kind of almost wirelessly transferring your video. You had to kind of buy a separate piece of equipment, pop it on top of your TV, and then you could play it back without having to plug in your camcorder using the AV out cables. Really quite forward-thinking technology. I almost forgot. Here we have our AV outs, and as you can see right here, this is where the S video would have been, but it's not. I was kind of tempted to try and rip this off to see if it was behind it, like a wally I am. Can you imagine if you ripped that off and it was there? Anyway, and last but not least, I only noticed this yesterday, there is actually a mic in. And that's very cool because you can use wireless mics of today's standards with them. So I could plug my Rode Wireless Go mic into there and it would work. So great. And it's funny that some modern camcorders don't have a mic input. Bizarre. So I think I've covered everything there. I tried to get that back on. I don't think there's anything I haven't covered. But that is the Sony CCD-TR411E. And yeah, lovely little thing. So, hope you enjoyed that, and now you can look forward to my lovely little video. See you later. So if you enjoyed today's video, then please consider giving it a massive big thumb up, just like the one on the screen. And if you really love my content, then please consider subscribing and making sure you activate the notification bell. Thank you.